What's up everybody, this is the 2020 BMW 540i xDrive. Huge thanks to Harrison Auto Sales and Service for providing me here with this really nice 540i to review for you guys today. So about the 2020 540i, well, this was the last year for this 5 Series before the mid-cycle refresh where it got some slimmer headlights up front there. But I have to say that I think this is probably the last of the classic looking 5 Series with the angel eye, round headlamp rings there and just, the classic grille and everything before it got super crazy and over the top like you see now with modern BMWs. I just think it's a really classy design. It's aged really well here over the past few years. So this is the third year. These came out in 2017. So this is the last year before that refresh. The 540i is of course the less aggressive version compared to like the M550i and the M5 that I previously reviewed a few years back. But I think this is really a sweet spot here, having great power, having a strong 6-cylinder turbo engine, but still having, a reasonable price point. And this one, especially now being used, is a really great deal. Coming down to the sides here, this one also has the M Sport package on it. So you have these 19-inch M Sport wheels that look great, and you also have the upgraded M Sport brakes behind them. And again, just a classic side silhouette here with the 5 Series. And out back, the typical back end you're used to from this generation 5 Series. Again, very conservative, but I think it's classy. There's nothing wrong with it. And I think it looks really great. And so overall, I think that, it's really a timeless design. And I think as the years have progressed here with BMW's design direction getting crazier, I think that these ones are starting to be more and more appealing, honestly. The interior of the 2025 series has also aged very well, and it's so refreshing to be back in a BMW interior that has knobs and switches, and it's just great. And so anyway, as far as this interior, they did a really good job here in 2020 of making a lot of stuff standard. You have the digital gauges as standard here in 2020. You also had this 10.2-inch touchscreen iDrive infotainment system as standard. So, it has all your basics covered. But first thing, sitting down in these seats, this one does have the sports seats, which are great. Really nice leather that over 44,000 miles has aged really nicely and just feels nice and soft and comfortable. And these sports seats also have adjustable bolstering, which is really great. So you can have them as tight or as loose as you want. And really just super comfortable, great lumbar support and all that, which is adjustable as well. And here in this one, they're also just heated seats, but I believe you could get cooled seats as well if you'd like, but this one just has the heating. But moving on to the steering wheel here, which is also heated, by the way. It's just a really great wheel. Just a few buttons here on it, nice and simple. The only thing that's funny, this being the M Sport package, again, you have this M Sport wheel with these comically large 10 and 2 notches, but otherwise it's great. I love the stitching on the airbag cover, and the paddle shifter is just a great wheel. The gauges are really nice. I like that, they're pretty high resolution. They're very crisp with the graphics. There's not a ton of customization here, though. It's just, a few basic things there you can scroll through on that right pod, but still looks really great. I believe there is a few other ways to get a little bit of extra customization as well. And whenever you go into the different drive modes, that'll also change the look of those gauges as well. And so that's, a nice little switch, and, just really great gauges though. No complaints there whatsoever. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here though, right up top, you have this 10.2-inch touchscreen, which these days I suppose may look a little small, but it's totally sufficient. And this system actually isn't as bad as I remember it being. There are still a few things buried in sub-menus, but honestly, I've just been able to pick up all the basic functionality here in just a few minutes hopping back into this vehicle. And so it's really simple and straightforward, and it's also really quick. Again, we're only talking about 2020. It's not like this is an ancient car or anything, but, really snappy with all the responses still, even a few years later. And, just, again, really nice that you have the touch functionality in addition to also having the iDrive controller if you'd rather control it that way. And you also have this row of shortcut buttons here by the volume knob where, you can program those for a bunch of things you can hop in and out of, quickly if you want. Also, the 5 Series here, I believe for this generation was probably, I think, one of the first vehicles to do wireless Apple CarPlay, and this one does have that wireless Apple CarPlay and also Android Auto capability. And then coming down to, again, just the wonderful amount of buttons and knobs. I never thought I'd miss this stuff, but I really do these days. And so just really easy and straightforward to change your temperature, change, your basic stuff there, and just really nice and simple the way it's laid out here. You also have a good amount of storage space here, nice wide pockets in the doors, which I really like, with a big bottle holder in the middle here. You do have 2 cup holders that aren't enormous in size, but should be okay for most stuff that's not huge, and a little pocket there in front of it, and also a USB jack there. And also interestingly, so you have this center armrest, which is nice and softly padded and splits in the middle when you open it up, but they have a USB-C jack in there, which is a little forward thinking, because now just in like the 2023 model year vehicles, you're starting to see USB-C switchovers and most companies going to that. BMW was doing it a few years back already, and you know, a good amount of space in there, not a ton, but should be okay for most size smartphones if you want to put them in there. The only little thing I'll mention about this interior though is that you have this nice stitching, and I love the contrast stitching on the seats, and you also have it here on the center tunnel, but this isn't really that padded. There's maybe a tiny bit of a texture to it, but it is not very soft. It's still pretty hard, and for a luxury vehicle like this, I want to see padded knee areas. If you're on long highway drives, it's nice to rest your knee there when you have cruise control on and stuff, and in this, you know, it's not going to be very soft. That's the only minor complaint I can say about this interior. Otherwise, it's so nice up front here. The back seat's also very nice here. They have their own air vents, and also 2 more USB-C jacks back there. And just a nice, soft, comfortable back seat. They also have cup holders there in the fold-down center armrest, as well as bottle holders there in the doors. And, you know, a good amount of headroom, and I'm 5'9", and a decent amount of legroom as well. Not enormous, but, you know, par for the course in this segment for this, you know, generation of vehicle. And just a few inches of legroom there to spare, but you know, really comfortable. The trunk is also nice and large, like you'd expect out of a mid-size luxury sedan like this. And so overall, yeah, I think it's did a really great job with this interior, and I think it's aged really well and just gets better as time goes on, honestly. But let's start up and go for a drive. The 5 Series here for the 2020 model year actually had keyless access, keyless entry, and push button start all as standard, which is really great. And I really like this BMW key too. Lots of metal, actually a pretty heavy key, and you know, not too big or anything though. And I like the, you know, M Sport one has the little you know, extra colors there, and just a really nice key. So of course, like I said, keyless access. You just hit the engine start button here, and it starts right up. All right, so setting off here in the 2020 BMW 540i xDrive. So the first thing you notice about it, well, you know, with this engine, you know, still being a 6-cylinder with a turbo on it, I mean, it's nice, meaty torque, even at low RPMs and even at low speeds. It really is a good amount of punch, and brakes also feel nice and good. This one also has the M Sport package, so you get the M Sport brakes, which are a little bit of an upgrade, as well as the M Sport suspension. And I'm happy to report, you know, we'll see when we're on a back road how it handles, but as far as, you know, low speed stuff and just normal comfort driving, the first few minutes I've been driving, it's been really nice to cruise around in, and I'm just happy that they didn't go too aggressive here with the M Sport suspension. It's still nice and soft. This one does not have the dynamic handling package on it though, which will give you adjustable roll control and adaptive dampers. This one doesn't have that, but even with this fixed suspension setup, you know, it's still, they did a really good job of just giving it a Goldilocks feel of, you know, not too stiff, not too soft. So far it just feels really great. We'll see more as we get up to some higher speeds and push it a little more though. You also have great visibility here in this generation 5 Series, a nice large windshield. The A-pillar is a little thick with the speaker and the mirror all at the base here, but they're sitting up high enough that it's not a big deal, and I think it's just a really easy vehicle to drive. Doesn't feel too big or anything. Great view out of the back. You also have all the safety stuff you could expect out of a 2020 BMW. So I mean, it has a lot of stuff as standard, like blind spot monitoring, automatic emergency braking, rear cross traffic alert. It has lane departure warning. All those things are standard. Adaptive cruise was still an extra cost option at this point in time, and I believe this one still doesn't have that. So you know, that's just one of the things. The Germans definitely like to nickel and dime you, especially back then, on, you know, a lot of those features. So, but it's nice because it means if you don't care about that stuff, then you can save some money. You don't have to have that. But yeah, now see, looking over the right hand there with that A-pillar, it is a little thick, but you know, like I said, you have the safety tech to help you out a little bit as well. And it's nice that you can also turn off the stuff you don't want to have on. Now it will give you an orange ring here instead of the green ring in the middle for that button if you you know, customize it and don't have everything on. But it's nice that you can set that and it remembers it. You don't have to mess with it every time or anything. And it's you know, great that you can customize exactly how much assistance you want. But I'm going to go ahead and put it up into the sport mode, which does tighten up the steering, gives you quicker throttle response. Sportier transmission tuning will also put the transmission into its sport mode. But let's turn down onto this back road here and see how it does. And here we go. Wow, instant response. That was great. Wow. And it just flies. It is impressive. And this vehicle hasn't been driven much recently, so the brakes do feel like they're a tiny bit warped so far. But anyway, as far as the acceleration though, it is impressive. this thing, it's definitely an overperformer. This is one of the classic examples of BMW underrating their engines. And so it's a 3-liter straight six turbocharged, 6-cylinder engine here, and it does supposedly 335 horsepower, 332 pound-feet of torque, and somehow that leads to a 4.6 second 0 to 60 time. And so, you don't have to be an expert to, figure out that 335 horsepower is probably a low rating for this vehicle. I think a lot of others have suggested it could be, much higher in the 300s as far as, the actual amount of performance this motor is putting out. And it feels way more than 335 horsepower for sure. Now, if you are a speed junkie, it still isn't the fastest version of the 5 Series, of course. There's the crazy M5, but even the M550i is a full second faster for its 0 to 60, thanks to its twin-turbo V8. I think that this is kind of a sweet spot because, the 4.6 seconds 0 to 60 is still plenty fast enough, and, still it's so punchy, and that might even be an underrating for that 0 to 60 number as well. But, it's plenty of power for something like this, and I don't think you're going to want any more. So it's great to have more power. If you get the money to burn, go for it. But I think that this is all the power and all the performance you're going to need out of a 5 Series. And let's try some manual shifts here. Yeah, it's so immediate. Instant downshifts too. Yeah, it feels so good. This CF 8-speed auto is always one of the best ones out there, and it just always does exactly what you want it to do. It's great in its auto mode, it's great in the manual mode here. Instant upshifts, it is really unmatched aside from some of the best dual clutch transmissions out there. But as far as torque converter automatics, I still think the ZF 8-speed is the king in the entire automotive industry, and so it's great that the 5 Series has this transmission. It just is another great perk here of the 5 Series over some of the competitors that do not offer the ZF 8-speed here. So and especially whenever you leave this engine in its higher RPMs too. It has so much torque down low, but even at 3,000 RPMs, so much punch. And we're coming right into some corners here too. We can try out the handling here, and it really feels nice and composed, and honestly it doesn't feel too heavy for a luxury sports sedan here. These, by the way, only weigh just slightly over 4,000 pounds, and it's just great feeling. It's so responsive, and just I like the steering even in sport mode here. It's not overboard, and it's nice and light in the comfort mode, so it just, again, it's always matching exactly what you want out of it, and it's just really nice that it's just doing what you want it to do, because there's a lot of transmissions these days and a lot of vehicles, even handling wise, where they let you down a little bit, and this is just great. It's got 245 wide tires, by the way, all around, and plenty of grip here. Not the most grip, of course, but you can always improve that if you want. But I haven't found any lacking in grip when you're talking about normal back roads at normal sane speeds. Again, we're talking about a 5 Series here, not a sports car or anything. So I think it's just a really nice balance and blend of plenty of sportiness. It keeps up with you if you're in a hurry, if you're in a rush, you want to push it a little bit, it'll be right there with you. But if you're just wanting to relax and be comfortable, even with this M Sport version, it's nice and sedate. But we got a nice hairpin corner here. We can test out the handling a little more here. Yeah, it's really good. It's nice and flat, and we got some other corners here back to back, and it all just feels so good. It also feels really effortless. This is a car that's easy to drive fast, not only because the engine's just so eager to go so quickly, but also just that the suspension can handle it, the brakes can handle it. It all is just so well rounded and just gives you so much confidence that you can just do whatever. I'm starting to find the limits of the tires grip just a tiny bit. These are just Uniroyal tires. I don't think it's anything super sporty. I'm sure you could obviously get a lot more grip if you want, just by doing a simple tire swap. But even with these tires as they are, it's still just so confidence inspiring and just feels so capable. And let's do an acceleration from a dead stop here. There it is. So that did take a little bit longer response, but still, man, the way this thing rips. And I didn't mention yet, but it also sounds nice too, having a 6-cylinder instead of some kind of boosted 4-cylinder or something. It is really good. And so yeah, love the way this thing drives. I think I'm really appreciating the steering too. It is just like so smooth and direct, but has just the right amount of weight, just so precise, and just Yeah, the dynamics here in this 5 Series are so good. And I, again, was very impressed with the M550i and with the M5, of course, which is just mind-blowing in every way. But it's great to see that, you know, even a 540i with just an M Sport package is still a blast. It's still just, you know, really well sorted. And just as we toss it into one last tight corner here, there is a little bit of a, okay, yeah, it almost felt rear-wheel drive even with this, you know, xDrive system here. You know, it didn't really intervene too much in the front there and was able to allow me to rotate it a little bit and you know, get a little rowdy on me there. So I appreciate that. It's a fun thing the way they set this up. But now just calming down, just cruising here in comfort mode. So quiet, so smooth, so comfortable. So really the last couple of things I mentioned here are the fuel economy and the pricing and how it compares to its competition. So as far as fuel economy goes, these are rated at 22 mpg in the city, 29 on the highway, and 25 combined. Now you do have to run premium gas here in these, and so, you know, you're gonna pay a little more at the pump for that. But, you know, fuel economy wise, you know, for something that's a, you know, large luxury sedan with this much power and performance, I think, you know, mid-20s is totally okay, and you know, no complaints there. Now as far as pricing, obviously these aren't new anymore. When they were new, they were very competitive with all the other vehicles out there in their segment. Now they've all depreciated differently, so that's why it's hard to do an apples to apples comparison these days. But what I can say is that this one at Harrison Auto Sales it's got 41,000 miles on it, and it's $36,000. And it's just incredible, you know, a vehicle that was almost certainly in the high 60s, maybe even the low 70s just a few years ago, has already dropped down to 36,000. It just means it's a great deal on the used market. And, you know, used German vehicles can have some electrical gremlins, and, you know, there's a lot of over-engineering oftentimes with a lot of German vehicles, and some of that stuff can, you know, lead to more expensive repairs and things down the road. But, you know, the nice thing with something that's, you know, as fresh as this is, you can get an extended warranty on it and, you know, have that extra peace of mind if you want. But, you know, something that's relatively fresh like this, hopefully it'll still have, you know, many years before, you know, any kind of gremlins pop up. And this one's been, you know, flawless here during my time with it. And, you know, but it is worth mentioning, you know, all the other competitors. You can get like a Mercedes E450, and I did review the E43, which is kind of a competitor to this in a way. That was a blast too, but that also had a much stiffer suspension. I gotta say, this is more comfortable than at least that E-Class. Now, a regular E-Class I'm sure is fine, but if you're going for anything sporty, I think this balances the sporty thing with comfort a little bit better than that does. And now, admittedly, I have not driven the Audi A6 of this generation to compare that to this. I'm sure that's nice and comfortable as well. But you know, that's just another one that's out there and available if, you know, you are cross-shopping these. But if you do want something that's reliable, that's in this size, that's a luxury vehicle, that also could be a ton of fun, the Lexus GS is a great option. That's not around anymore, but, you know, on the used market there, of course, you can still get them. Those things will run forever. They've been proven for many years. They're really awesome vehicles. They dynamically are great too. Even regular GS 350 is great, and there's of course even the epic GSF, which you can get with a naturally aspirated V8 engine. And the transmission isn't as good as this that's having the ZF 8-speed that has an older 8-speed that's not as responsive. So, you know, not the best in all the ways, but if you want reliability and still really great driving dynamics in a luxury sports sedan, give the Lexus GS a look as well. But overall, I really love the 540i. You know, it's this motor. Everyone loves this motor, and for good reason. It's just an overperformer, an overachiever. But this whole platform, everything about this vehicle, you know, whether it's the styling that has aged well, especially these days with modern BMWs once again, you know, the interior here, which is aged really well once again. You know, all these things I think really make it a sweet spot in the, you know, BMW era as far as 5 Series goes in general. I think this is, you know, really a high point, a really solid car, and again, getting it for, you know, almost half off of probably what it was sticker just a few years back is, you know, makes it a really appealing bargain as well. So really a nice vehicle. Definitely recommend the 540i here. But anyway, that's all of my thoughts here on it. Let me know your thoughts on the 540i in the comments below. Huge thanks once again to Harrison Auto Sales and Service for providing me here with this vehicle to review for you guys today. I will leave the link in the description for this vehicle. It's currently for sale. If you're watching this in the first, you know, few weeks here of me posting it, it might still be available, so definitely check it out. Give them a call if you're interested. I'll be more than happy to, you know, help you out with it. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.